I was asked to talk about judging other people as well as judging yourself and having standards for other people that maybe are above the norm, and what I think about that, and do avoidant people do that? Okay. It's like 6 different ways to look at that. First of all, no, I do not think that avoidant people judge other people and give them standards that are anywhere near as high as the standards that they expect for themselves to meet. The thing is this. Of course, when it was posed, it was sort of like, I'm being negative, I'm judging people, blah, blah, blah. I have standards for other people. You know, we are part of a species that has civilization and societies. And there are standard behaviors that every citizen should meet. And for some reason, most people think that they're exempt from the standards and they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And as long as, in general, the civilization is behaving in a certain way, then it's okay for them to be the one-off who doesn't. And that's the way a lot of people operate. And so I think that probably the impression, of course, I mean, avoidant people want to beat themselves up and blame themselves for everything that ever existed. And so to say, well, I have standards for that I expect people to be a certain way and behave a certain way, and therefore I'm bad and wrong for having standards, is bogus, to put it frankly. That's wrong. Okay, well, that's another way of putting it, frankly, extremely frankly. I'm being harsh. I'm being blunt, and I'm being very black and white. Sorry about that, but I strongly feel that other people also have standards, and actually that, if anything, they're higher than an avoidant, because avoidant people accept being treated like crap by other people, because that's what they've brought up as, that's what they've been trained to do, is to be treated a certain way that's less than the rest of society, in a nutshell. They've been trained to accept the dregs from people. They've been trained that they're not worth what other people are worth. And so if they ever stick their hand out at all and say, excuse me, this is the standard I expect from people, it feels foreign. It feels like they're not worth doing that. They are not worthy of having standards for other people. It feels like they're going to have, you know, the other person's automatically going to reject them as soon as they have standards that they expect other people to meet and behave, and how they should interact with them. This is just the way it is. So I think that if you're thinking that you have standards for other people that are out of whack, I think that maybe it's more accurate, because, I mean, unless your standard is, you know, that the person needs to be, you know, plated in 14 karat gold, okay, that's a little extreme. But I mean, if you have like general standards, like you expect people to be nice, and you expect them to be polite, you expect them to keep their word, you expect them to be competent, those are basic. That is not standards that are higher, you know, it's maybe higher than the people want to be able to get away with, but it's not higher than what they're used to from other people, and it's not higher than what they're capable of. So I think that having any kind of standards makes someone feel uppity when they have avoidant personality disorder, like they have no right. And again, with this extreme black and white, and that you've been put into a position where you are the one who has to jump through these hoops, and in a lot of cases, either the standard is 100% perfection all the time, or it is somebody who's changing the goalpost on you, and you can, in either rate, I mean, either way, basically it's impossible. It's impossible to meet the standards that are put on you by other people, and then you get that ingrained, and then you think that you can't reach standards either. Now, because all that, I think it's possible that avoidant people might have slightly elevated, extreme, black and white type standards for people where you either meet it or you don't, and that's it, and it's really hard to see the gray area. I think that's possible, and I think that people call you out on it again, well, for two reasons. One, because if it's somebody that you've been around for a significant number of years and you're just now coming to your sort of senses where you're saying, I have standards that somebody's got to meet, they're probably like, who in the heck do you think you are? All of a sudden you think that you can do this, and that's defensiveness, because whoever is not meeting the standards and is not behaving appropriately, then they would prefer to continue on their way and not behave appropriately. So obviously they're going to try to push back in order to get away with substandard behavior. I keep using that same word over and over again, but I mean, seriously, that's probably what it is. And then the other thing is, again, if you can't ever give somebody a break, and you can't ever accept a gray area type situation with somebody, then that's something that you can work on, and sort of push your comfort zone where you can accept that there's some sort of gray area. Now, again, to do that, I mean, I'm not talking about slipping up on, like, oh, well, I have to accept that anybody I'm dating is going to cheat on me. No. I'm talking about if somebody is 5 minutes late and you are flipping out because they said they were going to be there at a certain time and they're a little late because of something that they didn't expect to happen, and you can't let that go, and therefore you're going to throw out the baby with the wash water and completely cut them off because of something small one time. Now, if they're always doing that, then they're never meeting your standards, and therefore, yeah, you need to have standards. The other thing to work out for yourself is the beating yourself up for having standards. You know what? The reality is everybody has different sets of standards, and yours might be something that this person that you're with just can't tolerate, and that's fine. I mean, a standard might be, I'm not going to date somebody who smokes cigarettes, and this person smokes cigarettes. That's called a deal breaker. And everybody has those. There's something that people can't tolerate, and that's okay. And it seems like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to have to cut everybody out. Now, if you have so many deal breakers, it's impossible. Like, for instance, you want somebody who I don't know, like they stay home all the time, and yet they have, you want them to have a job where they are required to go out and socialize as part of their job. That's contradictory. That's impossible. That's a problem. So in that case, it's not standards. It's you making an excuse to not have any relationships with anybody, which is fine as long as you acknowledge it. Now, I don't know. I mean, then the next thing is sort of learning how to articulate your standards in a way that is not totally like disrespectful and demeaning to the other person. And again, that's something that you can actually work on that social skills, and you can learn them. I mean, there's a lot of ways of navigating it. But okay, the original question is, do people with avoidant personality disorder, in addition to having the super high pie in the sky standards for themselves, do they also have super high standards for other people? The answer is definitely not as high as they have for themselves. And it might feel like they're higher standards than other people, but they probably actually aren't. And also, maybe it's possible that you, as an avoidant person, might be less able to flex and adapt, and also to not be able to judge correctly, that's probably what it is. I mean, if you could judge, this is an acceptable deviation from the standard one-time deal type thing, then you wouldn't need to be so extremely black and white about, these are the rules, you must meet them, because you would be able to navigate that a little better. But that's what I think. So in a nutshell, if I have to say yes or no, I say no. But it probably does feel that way.